Okay.
Hey, this is the Genesee County Compassion Club Show. I'm your host, Jeremy, and I'm glad to be back in the studios here at allpointstv.com. How's everybody doing today? Woo! John in the studio here, making it happen.
You just feel like you're part of the environment right now.
I do. I'm a part of the environment.
Yeah,
you're fully integrated.
Yeah, one with nature.
I am. I'm celebrating the last week of summer, and I hope you are too. Always like switching things up here on the show, keeping it fresh, and glad you guys could join me today. I have some information I want to share with you. I want to let you know what's going on down at the Genesee County Compassion Club. Get you guys updated on updates for Michigan medical marijuana, and let you know what's been happening with the state and other news based around weed. That's what I'm doing. That's what we're doing. Let's get it on. All right, September 12th. Like I said, we got less than a week left of summertime here. Notice the sunset. This is my sunset clause right here. You like that?
Pretty good. That was pretty good. You worked it into the act.
Yeah. All right. So first I want to share with you guys the events we got going down at the G3C. I'll tell you what, folks, if you haven't been down to the Genesee County Compassion Club, you're missing out. We got a killer menu down there, awesome food, even better people, killer staff, and we're open Monday through Saturday. So get in there, make it happen. Tell you what we've got going on coming up here at the club. We've got the Adopt a Highway. It's coming up on the 22nd. It's September 22nd. That is Saturday, and we are cleaning M13. If you go to our Facebook page, Genesee County Compassion Club, you'll see our picture there, picture of the highway. I've been cleaning it for like 10 years now, so it's pretty freaking clean. But we're going to do it again, and we need your help. So if you could come out on Saturday, the 22nd, definitely would appreciate it. It's usually just a Saturday morning. Second time we've cleaned it this year, so it'll be pretty quick. And again, like I said, it's M13. I believe the spot that we clean is Beecher and Pearson, in between there. Come on out. You can't miss us. If you want to carpool from the club, you're welcome to. We usually leave about 9 a.m. And there's a short video to watch. Make sure you stay safe. And then we'll load you up with some bags and gloves and make it happen. All right? So help us out. Coming up Saturday, the 22nd. Okay, that's our last Adopt a Highway of the year. And it is a good opportunity for us to get out and show that we make a positive impact in the community as we do. All right, so there we go. All right, other event coming up here even before then, of course, Soup Kitchen. Third Tuesday of the month, every month, serving it up down at the North End Charities there. Glad to be a part of it. Mr. Matt makes it happen. Any donations we receive, we greatly appreciate it. It goes to help feed those folks down there, and we do like to give them a special meal. Last month it was, beef enchiladas. They were delicious. I still think about them. Thank you, Matt. And of course the famous peach cobbler. So all that's what the donations go for when he walks around there and collects. We definitely appreciate it. I know the folks down at the Soup Kitchen greatly appreciate it. I served down there this last month. Again, this is lunchtime that we're serving, so we like to get down there about 10 a.m. and we're serving at about I think 11:30 is when we start serving lunch. But at any rate, we had a good 120 people through the door there, if not more. So it's definitely a resource that's utilized in the community, and we're glad to be a part of it. So again, mark your calendars. It's 18th. It's a Tuesday morning. I know a lot of you members down there at the club, it's not exactly the busiest time of the day. We really would appreciate any help that we get, and whatever you can do to help is appreciated. All right. So next event we got coming up here, besides that, actually is a new event we're going to try out here. And of course, this is in response to all of the concerns that we've heard in the community from patients who are not being serviced. A lot of these dispensaries in their areas have been closed down. Of course, there's tumultuousness going on at the state level in regards to the provisioning centers. All that aside, we do have our original law, which was passed in 2008, which clearly provides for patients and caregivers, and it still provides for patients and caregivers. So this event that we're putting on here, it is a meet and greet. It is the 21st of September. We're going to allow you to come on into the club. You do not have to be a member. There is no charge. You do have to have your MMA card, so you need to be a registered patient or caregiver to come in. And this will be the perfect opportunity for you to meet other patients and caregivers and find the answers and solutions that you're looking for. All right. There's not going to be any additional vending or anything like that. It's just simply an opportunity mainly for these patients out there that are searching for caregivers to find one. There's not a lot of safe places to go to. Certainly the internet is not exactly the safest place. At least it doesn't seem that way oftentimes. And, bottom line is patients need their medication. So if you can get over to the club on the 21st, we're glad to receive you. And as I said, it starts at 6 p.m. We're going to be doing a short talk. I'll be hosting that talk and going over some of the rules and changes that have been going on here in the state, getting you guys up to date. Again, it's free of charge. We just ask that you come in and have a good time. It starts at 6 p.m. As I stated, you do have to have a MMMA card, triple M there. You know what I'm talking about, patient or caregiver card to come in. All right? But it is free and you don't have to be a member. So spread the word. Let folks know out there this is the time. Maybe you just want to check out the club. That's perfectly fine too. We'd love to have you come on in. And again, 6 p.m., 21st, let your friends and family know this is the time to get that information and get it without being charged something for it. All right? So awesomeness. All right. Other things we got going on here. I want to share some news with you guys. It's been a little bit since we've done a podcast, and I want to get you guys up to date on what's happening here in Michigan and, of course, what's happening around the country. So let's get right to it, all right? Without further ado, let's talk about Michigan's medical marijuana program. Obviously, we had a board meeting occur this last week, and when I say board meeting, I'm referring to the board's licensing from LARA, the Medical Marijuana Review Board. Some people have been referring to it as the BUMMR, the BMMR. I can understand. I like the acronym and it's working. So we're going to go with BUMMR. All right, the BUMMR for the board, and the MMFLA, which is the act itself. And I like to think of that as the MFLA. All right, anyways, MMFLA. All right, here's where we're at. Obviously, you guys know what the program is if you've been paying attention at all. And so here I'm just going to give you the rundown on the numbers so you know where things are at. So far, to date, the state has received 702 applications into this program. So 702 applications. That includes, of course, all of the categories listed, which is 5 different categories. I'm sure you're aware of those by now: transport, processing, testing, so on and so forth. At any rate, 702 applications submitted. There are different processes in the application process, and the first process that you need to get through is a pre-qualification process. So when you submit your application, just so you're all aware, you have to pay $6,000 to the state, non-refundable, for submitting the application. So there's been 702 of those $6,000 fees collected, if I'm not mistaken, by the state just for the simple act of submitting said applications. All right, pre-qualification, that is the first step in the process, and that has been given to 72 of those applicants. So approximately 10%, right? But approximately 10% of the total apps received by LARA have been pre-qualified. Out of those, we have seen a total of 37 approvals so far yet to date by the state's board. Getting a cotton mouth. Sorry. 37 have been approved. All right. So when the state talks about how many are out there up and running, able to actually do what it is they've been approved to do, the number of that is 37. All right. And of course, apps denied total right now, we're looking at 53. This includes applicants that have been denied for pre-qual or applicants that have also been denied for actual approval. 53 denials. So far, according to the state, of the 37 apps that have been approved, 10 of those applicants have paid their actual fee, the fee being $48,000 to the state, and are actually up and running. Now, up and running, that would obviously be relevant to what type of facility they are, whether or not they are a growing facility. We know that there was a number of licenses handed out in Chesaning. Talked about those on the podcast here about a month ago. Or whether or not it's a provisioning center. There's been a couple of those been approved. Ohm of Ann Arbor was one of the ones that was recently approved just this last week, and it is a dispensary that's been up and running now in Michigan for quite some time. So, in fact, they might be one of the first ones that were running previously and they're the old program and are now approved to run in the new program. They might hold that designation as being the very first. So if they are, congratulations to Ohm of Ann Arbor. You guys have done a great job, obviously. But at any rate, 10 of these applicants have actually paid and up and running, paid their $48,000 fee. So we had the deadline that the state had imposed, which was September 15th. All applicants had to be approved by that date. in order to continue operating on or after said date. Obviously, if this were continued, and I'm about to let you know, of course, that the timeline, the deadline of the 15th has been extended again. We'll talk about that. Had it not been extended, all of the remaining applicants in line, i.e. about 630 of them, sorry, John, pounding the table, about 630 of those applicants would not be able to operate if they are currently operating. They would not be able to operate any longer after the 15th until they were approved by the BUMR, BMMMR. All right, so they did extend the deadline, has been extended to December 15th, and they did it with a little bit of contingency, if you will. So essentially, if you've submitted your application by the January 15th date prior to the April 14th or April 15th date, then you can still operate, provided you've submitted your application and you're in compliance with your local ordinances. If you had not submitted your application by the April 15th date, you would not be able to continue to operate after September 15th. So they've thrown out a few different qualifying factors to continue operating after the 15th. And of course, all of these rules and applications and deadlines and so on are applying to the MMFLA program only. All right, so this is news based around and for people that are concerned with that program. I know you're probably sitting there in the club thinking, Jeremy, why are you talking about all this? I'm just trying to keep you guys up to date, let you guys understand what's going on with the state, and understand what's going on with our market, if you will, the patients and the caregivers out there in Michigan. And in reality, right now, they don't have any alternative out there to go to. Some of the numbers that we're seeing reported right now is that the state has approximately 98 different, I would assume mostly dispensaries, and so those would be the only ones that would be running from a previous program and asking for an approval now. But 98 of those are scheduled to be shut down, according to LARA, after the September 15th deadline. This is even with the deadline being extended. So these are people that fall outside of that April 15th qualification. Yes, they do have an application submitted. Yes, they plan on moving forward in the new program, but they're not going to be able to operate any longer after September 15th if they want to have a chance at being approved in their application process. So obviously that's really bad news for 98 of these businesses out there. They say, LARA says that 108 businesses will be allowed to stay open. So these are people that submitted their application within the qualification period, and they will be allowed to stay open after September 15th up until December 15th or until whenever they are approved for their application by the BUMR board. All right, so there we go. So really half of the places that they have on their list are going to get shut down supposedly after September 15th, and even though they're still in line to get approved for an application. If they decide to stay open after that date, they jeopardize their ability to get approved. So likely they'll be shutting down. So where does that put us at? Well, that puts a lot of patients out there across Michigan without access, period. I mean, if you shut down half of the businesses in the state, obviously half of the customers in the state now have nowhere to go. So, i.e., that's why one of the things that we're doing at the G3C is this meet and greet. Is because patients out there need a place to find medication at, and they need a caregiver, essentially. So this is how the program's working. This is where the state is at, and you can formulate your own opinions on, is the state doing its job or is it not? Should these people be approved? Should they not? All of that is really your own opinion. You're entitled to it. What I would have to say, though, is that what is not up for opinion is that patients should have access to medication. So these hoops that are having to be jumped through, these deadlines that are being instituted by the state, are they necessary? I really don't think so. But at any rate, this is the process that we're going through. The state's director, Andrew Brisboe, has stated that they want a clear separation between businesses that are going to be approved in the system and businesses that are just out there operating on their own, or operating without approval. And I've been told by insiders in the industry that this is obviously for protecting their business interest. It really has nothing to do with protecting the consumer, sticking up for patients, quality and compliance, nothing to do with those things. It has to do with protecting the investments that have been made into this industry by these applicants that are in line waiting to be approved. And if you don't believe me, maybe you can understand this. The fee, as I stated, when you're approved by the state, you then have to pay your fee. And this is in addition to the $6,000 application fee. The fee currently, at least through this last year, has been $48,000. The state just stated that due to the number of participants in the program, obviously they're referring to the lack of participants in the program, which is their own fault, mind you, the fee now has to go up. And next year the fee is going from $48,000 to $66,000 for one of these licenses. So, I mean, that should give you a clear indication right there of the players that the state is looking to play with. And clearly, it was never, ever meant for the people that were already a part of this industry, for the caregivers, or for the businesses that have established themselves. What they're looking for are large corporate interests to come in and essentially take over this industry. And it's clear, when you have 10% of your applications have been approved since the inception of the program and since the rollout of the board. So essentially we're dealing with 9 months of probability or possibility that the state had to work with to get this on track, to make this move forward. And so far they've only worked through 10% of their workflow. So if we were to extrapolate that information and then break it down on a timeline, we could estimate that the remaining 90% of the applicants could take up to what are we looking at here? 3, 4, 5 years to approve? I mean, if we just did the math. Now, granted, at the last board meeting, the board reviewed more applicants than they had at previous meetings. So gradually, they seem to be increasing the number of applications that they're reviewing at each meeting. But let me also remind you that at the last meeting, even though there was a longer list, 18 of those applications belonged to one person and were reviewed as one singular applicant. So did they review more at this last meeting or did they not? It's up for debate. At any rate, look at the numbers. 702 applications, 72 actually reviewed for pre-qual. That's 10% right there. Only 10 actual licenses issued up and running. And when I say up and running, they're not really up and running, because you know doggone well, if you're a patient or a caregiver and you've ever grown cannabis, if you started growing cannabis 2 months ago, you still have nothing today. Nothing that can be used. You know that, all right? These guys are in no different ballgame than you are. They don't have access to, plant machines that make their cannabis grow faster, do they? No, of course they don't. So, up and running, that's kind of a tongue-in-cheek statement, if you will. They've paid their fees, so the state assumes they're up and running. What I'm pointing out here, obviously, again, is that the state is not concerned with patients' access to medication. They're not concerned with small businesses being a part of this. They're not concerned with the former industry melding and gelling with the new industry, if you will. There seems to be no sense of urgency on the part of the state or the board to get these operations up and rolling. And there seems to be a firm disconnect between the needs of the people that are affected by this law and the application of the law itself. Really disparaging. At any rate, that's the numbers. That's where we're at. You can voice your opinion, and this is one of those unique times that you can actually have some input. And I'm going to tell you how you can do it. All right? And your time's running out, so listen carefully. Tomorrow, as in tomorrow, the 13th, there is going to be a 11 a.m. live conversation with Andrew Brisboe, who is the head director of LARA, who's the director of this medical marijuana department, and who will be, I am assuming, answering questions from the public about this program. So this is your opportunity to submit your questions, and you can do so by email, and I'll give you the email address. Okay, it is LARA, L-A-R-A, hyphen, B-M-M-R, hyphen, legal at michigan.gov. One more time, LARA, L-A-R-A, hyphen, B-M-M-R, hyphen, legal at michigan.gov. All right, you can email your questions there. In the subject line, you want to put down medical marijuana public hearing, and or public comment, and maybe your question will get answered. Maybe we'll address it. Maybe you'll have the opportunity to hear him address some of the other concerns that have been brought up by people in the program and out of the program. So there's your information on that. Those are the numbers, and that's all I have about that information. All right, I'm not going to get into it much further. I think it's the numbers kind of speak for themselves in this situation. And I can say one thing about in relation to this and upcoming events. And what I want to say is that the vote that we have to legalize recreational marijuana coming up here in November, that program, if it is passed, will be ran by LARA, the same department that's running this medical marijuana program that we have now. The difference is that new law that we're going to be voting on in November does not provide for the BUMR board, the BMMR board. That's not a part of the new law. So that's something to take into consideration. Granted, yes, the state's going to be involved in it and have their hands all over it, no doubt about it. But at least we won't have this governor-appointed baloney board. All right? Okay. Anyways, all right, moving on here. Other news and stuff that I wanted to share with you guys. Michigan is certainly a hotbed of marijuana right now. So there's a lot of people watching us, a lot of people wanting to see what are we going to do. And I think what we should be watching is other states, frankly. We should be looking at Oregon, seeing what's happening in Oregon. We should be looking at Colorado, seeing what's happening over there. And I know that some of the directors at the state level are talking with other out-of-state regulators. But are they talking to the right ones? Who knows? And I think if we took a look, or were to take a look at these two states in contrast or in comparison, and then were to utilize that information, we could make improvements here in Michigan and sort of head off a lot of the problems ahead of them before they even exist by simply looking at some of these other states. And of course, what I'm referring to, if you look at Oregon, the difference in between Oregon and Colorado, and there's a great article on usnews.com that you guys should check out. But the difference mainly is that when Colorado passed their recreational program, they did so with the previous program in mind, and they were able to integrate them. Oregon really didn't, and Oregon also didn't limit things at all. So currently right now in Oregon, there is an oversupply of cannabis to an extreme extent. And they're having issues not only inside of the industry, but issues extending outside into the black market, out-of-state issues, of course, so on and so forth, and really having problems with sustaining the industry itself because there are businesses out there that are no longer able to operate. They have product on the shelf, they can't get rid of it, and the prices are so low that to sell it at those prices is only taking a loss. In Colorado, prices have gone down, but the supply chain is more along the lines of being able to meet the demand. Even with that being stated, in Colorado, they are still seeing licensees not even utilizing the entire amount that they're licensed for because they don't have the demand for the product there. And this is something that we should look at very carefully in Michigan, as I have seen numerously largely proportioned operations be presented as solutions around the state. I've mentioned on the program numerous times the project that's going on in Lansing to the tune of $200 to $300 million. And there are numerous ones proposed around the state. We've seen another one proposed recently in Marshall, and I've been told that they're breaking ground on that. We've had other proposals for the same type of operations up north, I believe in an area called Kingston. Can our market here in Michigan, whether it be medical or recreational, even provide the demand that these operations are looking to supply? Can they? I don't know. I'm asking the question. And as we are seeing in places like Colorado and Oregon, two differently regulated markets, they're still having issues with oversupply. So I think the state should look at these carefully, considering the fact that we already have a robust patient caregiver system in Michigan that is operating and will continue to operate. And in addition to that, we're approving these new centers to come online. And I think we should have a overall perspective of what demand do we expect to see. We've heard lots of different types of proposals telling us how many billions of dollars the cannabis market is going to bring to Michigan's economy. But are we really lining these numbers up, and are we really setting up the industry for sustainability, or are we looking for more of a bubble and a pop? And I think that's something that we need to look at carefully, not just as patients and caregivers, but as a state, as a whole, as an economy. Bubbles aren't good for anybody, right? We went through the housing market bubble. It didn't turn out too good here in Michigan. All right, so this is what's going on here. And again, I'm just using these as examples to say our state needs to look at these examples as well and use them. Not just go, oh, well, Colorado is different than Michigan. Yes and no. All right, we need to learn as much as we can and quit pretending like we're reinventing the wheel here in Michigan. All right. Other information I want to share with you, and I would encourage you to check out that article. It's very interesting, and I don't want to go quote through it. But anyway, U.S. News and World Reports, look up medical marijuana. The title report is Oregon has a pot oversupply and Colorado hits the mark. You can check that out. Some good information there. Other information I want to share with you guys, and I thought this was kind of funny. I don't really know what to call it. Maybe I should call it Medicatedville. You'll understand once I tell you. Jimmy Buffett, now, if you haven't heard, has come up with his own medical marijuana line. It's interesting and funny to me how these stars are sort of jumping on the bandwagon. Certainly, Jimmy Buffett, Margaritaville, has had the laid-back approach. He's used that as his marketing for his music for eons, and it's worked very well for him, and I don't see why cannabis would be any different. But at any rate, now Jimmy Buffett's got his own weed, so for all you Jimmy Buffett fans out there, you can now get Jimmy Buffett weed. All right, and like I said, maybe it'll be called Medicatedville. I don't know, whatever. John, you got any Jimmy Buffett weed names?
I'm trying to think of, let's see, maybe for the songs, I mean?
Yeah.
Margaritaville,
I know.
Looks at 40. A couple other, those are two I know pretty well. He's a great singer.
Yeah, I like Jimmy Buffett.
I mean, he's like billionaire.
Well, he's a businessman, so this doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, the Margaritaville restaurants, that's a chain restaurant. He's got all kinds of different things he's sponsored and endorsed and done very well with. So you could say like Jimmy Buffett's like the Barry Manilow marketing of Kiss. You know what I mean? Like the guy knows how to market stuff. So, all right. Anyways, that's what that is. Oh, Jimmy Buffett weed. We got Snoop Dogg weed, Jimmy Buffett weed. We got Cypress Hill weed, 311 weed. I mean, everybody's got their own weed now. It's like the new cologne. You know what I mean?
I think if I was more of a grower, I don't have a green thumb. I have the opposite. But if I had more of a green thumb, I think I would have been on that.
Oh yeah, I mean, honestly, I think a lot of caregivers out there would love to have a celebrity sponsor their weed or take them on and say, yeah, your stuff's so good that I'm gonna call it mine.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be awesome. Man. I mean, but I just think it's kind of interesting. I had people I knew around me who were so hateful towards the medical marijuana program initially, and then they saw the dollar signs, and they were like, "I wonder how we can. Do you know anybody who can grow this stuff for us? Maybe we could front them the money to put the place up, and we'll get a cut." Now it's like, "Oh, now you're seeing it's lucrative. You want on board."
Yeah, it's amazing how many people have changed their morals for money.
It probably had anger to the pioneers. Like you probably had to piss them off. I mean, all the time they were trying to preach this and all this stuff, and they were just dismissed. And now when there's big bucks potentially blowing, just like what's going on in Michigan here, and
not only that, you're absolutely right. It does piss a lot of people off that have been in this industry, that are still in this industry. It absolutely pisses them off because you have these folks that previously wouldn't give you the time of day because you're involved in weed. Now that they see the dollar signs, they come running. But at the same time, when they come running, they say, well, yeah, I want in on this, and I want you out. And I think, and that's what's happening. These guys are coming in with money now, and they're buying it up, and at the same time, they're turning back around, and they're saying, and you guys, get out.
My grandparents went through a similar thing. They started having bars right after Prohibition is repealed. Mm-hmm. And And then they had all these, well, right after it was repealed, they still had these people who were like, really religious, kind of fanatics, look down on them. But then they'd start knocking on their door wanting money for their different church organizations, benefits and all this stuff. My grandparents didn't hold it against them. They cut a check. But I mean, here it was is like, you people are used to, you were like the Antichrist and how evil we are because we sell booze. But now you want on board because you want us to help you out because we're making good money.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. It certainly is something that we're seeing come to fruition. That's something we're running into. And, what are you going to do? I mean, people are going to be greedy. That's just the way it is. All right. I want to give a shout out to all of the High Times Cup winners over this last weekend. Congratulations to you guys. I know you put a lot of hard work into that. Risk your necks going out there, apparently. But good job. Great job. I think that's freaking awesome. You guys deserve all the credit in the world, and I hope you get it. We had our Labor Day a couple weeks ago. Freaking awesome. Love it. And I don't know what to say about the Lions. John, did you watch football?
I don't watch it.
Don't.
No, it's like I never understood.
Watching the Lions game is like as bad as watching the news.
I never understood.
It's just depressing.
I never understood professional sports. Okay, you have these people are not from your hometown. We're near downtown,
sure,
Detroit. Yeah. Okay, they're not from your downtown. You'll never meet them. They're going to be traded on and off and go free agency or whatever. So what do you have loyalty to colors and a mascot or a logo?
Good
I just think that's weird.
Good question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good question. Regardless or not, they suck. I mean, the bottom line. Oh, man, what are you going to do? All right. I don't have much other medical marijuana news for you guys. I think that's plenty to focus on for now. Our state definitely seems to be a hotbed right now, and there's other things going on as well. But at any rate, I do want to give you guys a reminder for the Adopt a Highway coming up on the 22nd, our meet and greet on the 21st, and of course our good old soup kitchen on the 18th. All right, if you guys come in for that, we definitely appreciate it. In the meantime, get into the club. All right, get into the club, enjoy it. We got all kinds of food specials. We got all kinds of good fun stuff going on. You guys are killing it with the foosball and the ping pong and the doggone, I can never think of the name, beanbag toss, cornhole. Oh god, I couldn't remember it. It's beanbag, okay? All right, you guys enjoy it down there. We appreciate it. Join us here again on the podcast here next week for more information. Like I said, look up those articles. Email Lara if you can, if you feel so inclined. Fire away. It's never a better time than to voice your opinion than now, right? All right. And catch up on all the other podcasts here at All Points TV. It's a great program, and you can get informed on real issues going on in your town with real news without advertisements, right? All right.
We're not really proud of that, but it's just the way it worked out.
It's the way it worked out. So right now we have not sold out, and that's the way we are.
Yeah, we can say that's a virtue until somebody weighs enough money, then we'll be jumping on board.
Right. We will not sell out unless we get a good offer.
Real good offer.
All right.
We'll have product placement. We'll sell out. Really, just contact us. We'll show you how well we're.
All offers have potential to be good. All right. Thanks for joining me this week on the Genesee County Compassion Club show. Definitely appreciate you, John, being in here in the studio with me, and you guys at the Genesee County Compassion Club, keeping it live, keeping it real. Definitely appreciate it. All right. You guys have a great week. It is the last week of summer, so please get out and enjoy it, and don't complain when the snow comes. All right. Have a good week. See ya.